Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We're in Brazelton, Georgia, part of Petit Le Mans weekend, wrapping up the major sports car season in 2010. Star Mazda final race of the year. Part of that, Chris Miller in the JDC car, the 85, trying to move up from that 12th position. He gained 5 spots, Johnny, on the drop of the green. When the green lights came on, he's been kind of stuck back there in 12th ever since.
But slowly making a little bit of ground up on these guys. You know, it's the whole thing about racing, though. Getting there and getting by are often, quite often two different things. Right now, the guys are getting spread out a little bit. See Vautier using a lot of curb there. You know, the car, a lot of times, really doesn't like being up there. You'll get on the rev limiter as you bounce over those curbs.
One of the things I've always loved about Road Atlanta, I think you touched on it earlier, the elevation changes that you see here, the terrain, got to be a very interesting track to drive.
Really fun. And it's one of those things, there's some things television is great at, but showing the elevation change isn't always one of them as we go on board with Vautier here. Going up the gearbox down the long back straightaway. There's a bend over a rise here. It's blind. Really trying to carry it in deep, and this is the difference between the men and the boys. The men bringing it in really, really deep, leading that break into the last possible minute.
Tristan Vautier in 5th position, Anders Krohn right behind him in 6th. They've had a good battle going here in the early laps. Vautier had that opportunity at the start to pass some cars, but misjudged. The car got off the line slower in front of him, and he ran over the wheel there. Fortunately, didn't damage his machine.
Little bit of contact. You see guys right here, the battle for 16th, a little bit of jockeying going into turn 10, but even though the car might not have broken, a lot of times contact like that will throw the toe out and give you a little bit more toe out in the front or a little bit more toe in, and that very much affects how the car enters the corner. On
board with great motorcycle star Larry Pigram in the 72 down into turn 1. You get a look at the apex of that corner. Trying to get by Dom Bastian. Pigram in the expert category. Bastian in the Masters Series category for drivers 45 and over. Dom Bastian is a guy who's pretty quick in these cars.
Yeah, and again, as you go down the S's, hearing them going up the gearbox, it's so fun being behind a person because, you're studying what they're doing well and trying to, come up with a game plan to get by as we get back to the front right now. Di Filippi looking so sharp this weekend.
One guy who's having problems, though, Tristan Vautier had been running in 5th, Johnny O, and he slipped way back. He's now sitting 9th. There's a 4-car scramble here.
And Tristan moving to the inside. You can see the dirt coming off those guys dropping wheel.
Trying to get by the 18 of Joao Orto. Chris Miller back there, too.
Yeah, Miller setting everything up for the sweep back underneath under the bridge. Nicely done there.
Vautier must have put a wheel off or something. That's Nick Andres as well. He's trying to race his way back up where he was in the group before.
Vautier has got such a fun style to watch. I mean, he's right on the edge. The car's very nervous, but a lot of times when the car's set up like that, you can get a tank slapper, you can miss an apex and allow guys to get by you. So we don't really know what happened there. But again, Tristan once again finds himself, on the receiving end of a battle behind him.
He is from Grenoble, France, very strong, has a couple of wins in the series this year. Tristan Vautier clearing that group, getting himself back on it, but these cars are so equal, Johnny, same tires, same motor, all in the setup. The difference is usually just hundredths of a second. It's going to take Vautier a lot of hustling to get back at the front here.
When you're in a situation like him, if you feel your car is strong, but you find yourself in this type of situation, usually the only way you're going to get back to that front is if you get a full course caution in a pace car.
Vautier in the 38 car clearing that group. Got to assume that something happened to him working into lap number 5 there.
It just doesn't make sense for him to have been back and lost the momentum that he did, because he'd been running what was looking like a solid 5th.
Vautier in front of this group of cars. The 18 car is Joao Orto. There's Chris Miller in the 85. Nick Andres in the 81, also part of this group. And they're running back 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Vautier has got himself at the front of this group of 4. Miller's done a great job after lining up 17th to get himself up into 11th spot.
Psychologically, when you're having a race like Miller is having, it's a great thing. When you are passing guys, you are positive. All your energy is good, and all you can do is keep moving forward. Guy like Vautier, it's a much more difficult battle because you're at the front and then guys start passing you. Mentally, it's so much harder to be in that situation.
Coming up through the S's, heading toward the backstretch here at Road Atlanta. Your VisitFlorida.com running order, top of your screen. Keep track of where your favorite driver stands in the Star Mazda Championship. Back with a look at Rusty Mitchell there in the Motorola machine, the 66 car. Mitchell sitting in pretty good shape right now, running in 10th position.
And It looked like Vautier was seeming to run up on him a little bit, making a little bit of ground. Rusty's one of those guys, I think a really talented driver, but just so often, racing is about luck, and his luck is definitely not once this year worked in his favor. You got to tip your hat to the guy as Vautier gets a toe. I think watch Vautier pull out on him going into 10 here.
There he goes. Vautier in the black and white car on the inside. Has the lane, makes the pass.
Nicely done, but as you watched him doing that, you saw the car very twitchy and nervous, which is one of those things that makes me wonder, okay, just how well that car is set up right now after that first lap contact. Also, Vautier, normally a guy qualifying in the top 4, they might be struggling this weekend.
Orto in the 18 also getting by Rusty Mitchell. Yeah, Vautier's car's been loose a couple of different times here today, but he's cleared this group as he heads up through the S's. Let's get an update on Vautier. Here's Todd Lewis.
Quick update for you fellas on Tristan Vautier. Had a terrific start to this event, off the standing start, jumped a couple of positions, bumping tires and pushing his way through, and was running 4th. He's now dropped back a couple of positions, currently running 8th. Hasn't said anything about the car to the team on the radio. He's just got his head down and trying to charge back toward the front.
Really hard to say. The one thing I am noticing is that car looks nervous.
Now Vautier trying to hustle that race car, get himself back into contention here. We're not quite to halfway at Road Atlanta. Season finale for the Star Mazda Championship. This one will decide the Visit Florida Cup, and Connor DeFilippi has led all the way.